Welcome back to the part 3 video tutorial for charcoal. We're going to go ahead and continue with the cylinder. We're going to finish it off by doing a cast shadow on the table. Now whenever you have an object that touches the table, the cast shadow runs along the bottom portion that touches that table. So that means that for the cylinder, it's going to go all the way from the bottom right corner to the bottom left, and it's going to come out in the same direction as the arrow. So if you notice the arrow is pointed towards the bottom right, well, that's the same direction we're going to use for the cast shadow. These two lines, because my cylinder is straight and it's parallel on the side, I want these lines to be parallel as well. So I'm going to go in, have parallel lines, and at the bottom, what I want to do is I want to copy this curve of the cylinder. So this one right here that I'm pointing to, I want to copy that and put it at the bottom. I don't want to change the angle, I don't want to change the direction, I don't want to change anything major. I just want to try and copy that circle, or that curve, as much as possible. So what's going to end up happening is that your right corner here will end up looking a little bit pointier. That's normal. From there you can go ahead and fill this in. And we'll have our cast shadow on the table. So I'm going to go ahead and shade this with a blending stump. And for the details, let's say it gets too skinny right here. That's a part where we can actually get the blending done and the shading done with the charcoal pencil. So let's say, for example, something is too detailed, we can always go in with that charcoal pencil. I'm going to go ahead and finish off all of the shading here on the bottom part of the cast shadow. And that's it. So that means that the cylinder is done. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the sphere now. So we're going to follow the same steps. So step 2, high dark. You have your hand out. High dark is going to be half of the circle. It's going to be on the opposite side of the arrow. So here's an arrow. That means it will be on the bottom right corner. Now, for the circle, whenever you want to do any kind of shadow on a sphere, we always want the shadow to look like it's starting to come back around like a moon. So we want the whole side that's filled to look like a moon. And one of the biggest mistakes people make with spheres is that they'll make almost a straight line going across. We want this part here that remains to look like an oval. So if it doesn't quite look like an oval, if it looks like an almond or any other shape, then you did it wrong. So I'm going to go through and twist the corners so it looks like they're almost touching on the end. I'm going to fill this in, and I'm going to shade. Now I'm going to go in a little bit lighter on the top. I went in a little bit darker there so I can show you how to erase if you accidentally do something a little bit too dark. I'm going to go through and blend this in first. Alright. So if you happen to go too dark in any part, you can always do what I'm doing right now. You can go on with a second layer of blending with the blending stump. And what the paper of the blending stump does is that it actually picks up some of the charcoal on there, and so it seems darker. So I'm going to zoom in really quick just so you can sort of see where it might seem a little bit darker. And you can tell that at the top right corner, it seems a little bit lighter now. The other option that you have is to use an eraser to erase part of what you have and make it lighter. The best eraser for that would be using a gum eraser. Looks like this, gray gum. You would actually go through and stretch it. And the heat of your hand, stretching it, is what cleans it and what makes it pliable. We're going to go through, stretch it, and we're going to actually tap. So I'm going to go through and tap several times. Now if it gets dirty, I can go through and fold it again and use a clean side. So I'm going to go through and tap again. And I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to just focus my camera again really quick. I'm going to do it one more time. all along the dark side. And then I can go back in with my blending stump and blend. So if you happen to go too dark, you can always go in there and use your eraser to make it a little lighter. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and blend now the high dark with the mid value. And the way that you blend is you can grab your blending stump and right along the edge where the two values meet, you can go through and blend some of that out. Now if you notice when I'm blending, I'm not going in and blending the whole thing. My blending stump is staying only around the edges where the high dark meets the mid value. There's no need to go from the back and then bring up your blending stump. We're only blending along the edge. Alright, so we have step 2 done. We're going to go in with step 3. Step 3 is your core shadow. That's going to be a dark stripe that looks like a skinny moon along the bottom right corner, but not touching the edge of the sphere until you hit the two sides here. Okay, so it's going to run along the bottom. I'm going to go in with my soft pastel. I'm going to make sure I'm getting a corner. And I'm going to start placing a stripe for my core shadow. Blowing away some of the trash on there. Giving it a little bit of thickness here and there. And I do want it to be obvious that the core shadow is there. That's why I'm going pretty dark now. Even you can see it on the video. I will zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little bit more. So you can see that dark stripe. I'm going to get the blending stump and I am going to blend along the edges as well. Remember, when you blend, you're not blending everywhere. You're just blending right along the edge where the values meet. So the darker value would, in this case, be the core shadow, and the lighter one in this case would be the high dark. I'm going to go ahead and blend. I'm going to blow away some of the things under that I don't need, some of the dust. I'm going to zoom out. And there we have step 3, the core shadow, done. Now I'm going to go in with step 4. That's the highlight. So highlight, step 4, that's going to be something that I erase. So I'm going to use my eraser. And I'm going to erase a small circle or oval closer to the arrow. So in this case, the arrow is on the top left corner of our object. So here's a sample arrow. It's going to be on the top left corner, which means that the highlight that we erase will be on the top left of the sphere. Now when we do erase, I do want to go in and make sure that my highlight that I erase is not actually touching the edge of the circle. I want it close, but I don't want it to touch. Now I'm going to go in and blend a little bit. My highlight will get a little bit smaller when I blend. That's normal. Once the highlight's done, the sphere is done on the inside. We just have to go in with the cast shadow. So for the cast shadow, it is a lot of roundness for the cast shadow for this one. The light source is coming in from the top left corner. That means the cast shadow is going in the same direction. Now, because the sphere only touches the table just in this little part at the bottom, it doesn't touch everywhere else, otherwise it wouldn't roll. It only touches the table here at the bottom. My cast shadow is going to actually be skinny at the bottom. So what I want to do is go down the middle of the sphere, and I want to angle a line from the middle at the bottom of the sphere. I want to angle it in the same direction as the arrow as much as possible. And then I want an oval to come out of that, so that the oval looks like it's overlapping with the sphere. And then I'm going to go in and fill in the rest. Now I did use the pencil to draw because that's a little more detail. I can use my charcoal stick if I need to, or I can keep filling it in with the charcoal pencil. That's up to you. I'm going to go in, fill it in, blow away some of the dust from the charcoal. And that's it for the sphere. The sphere would be completely done. We're going to go on to the last one. The last one is the cone. This one's pretty quick. We're going to go in with the mid value. We did that. Step 1. Step 2, we have the high dark. So I'm going to go in and include the high dark. So I'm going to fill that in about halfway. Now, because it is very skinny at the top, I'm actually going to go in with my pencil at the top. And I don't want the high dark to be too dark, so I'm not going to go too dark when I put my pencil down. I'm going to go in and blend all the way through. It's a little bit dark still, so I'm going to go in and blend a little bit more to remove some of that charcoal off of it. And then I'm going to blend out my high dark. So I'm going to go along the middle, and I'm going to press along the middle, and as I move towards my light side, I'm going to press a little bit less, and then a little bit less, and a little bit less, until I get the blend that I want. So there I have a blend between the high dark and the all over neutral, or the mid value. We're going to go in next with the core shadow, that's step 3. So this stripe is going to be wider at the bottom, skinnier at the top, and it's going to be close to the right edge of the cone, but not quite. It is on the side of the shadow, so I'm going to go in here with my pencil. And the reason I'm using my pencil is that now I'm starting to get a lot skinnier at the top, so I want to make sure that I don't end up messing that up with the charcoal stick, because the charcoal stick was never designed for detail. So I'm going to go in and blend my core shadow on the left side and on the right side. Remember, when you blend, you're pressing from the shadow, and as you move towards the lighter value, you press less and less. So we have core shadow. We're going to go in now with step 4, which is the highlight. We're going to actually need an eraser for this, and we're going to erase a stripe from the bottom to the top. It's wider at the bottom, skinnier at the top. It's close to the left edge, but not quite touching it. So I'm going to go in and erase my highlight. I'm going to make it a little bit wider at the bottom. And that's it. Now I accidentally went a little bit too far right here. I can always get my blending stump if I need to and kind of fill that in again. And I'm also going to use my blending stump to blend a little bit on the edges of my highlight so that it doesn't look like it's just something that was erased with no consideration for the edges. So there I have my highlight. And I'm going to go in with the last step, which is my cast shadow. So for this cast shadow, we're going to do something really similar to the sphere. We're actually going to go in the middle at the cone at the bottom. And I'm going to have a line going away from the cone. I'm going to actually redo that because the stick didn't quite get in the middle. I'm going to have it going away from the arrow, so in the same direction as the top left. So you can redraw the arrow if you need to, and it's going to go in that same direction. And once I have this, I'm actually going to go in and connect the corners. Now, this corner you have to be really careful. We don't want this corner to look like it's curved or weirdly shaped. It is going to be a little bit curved here, but then once you reach a certain point, it's going to be a straight line going through. Now again, this is a lot of small points and details, so I'm going to shade with my charcoal pencil for this. And I'm going all along the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and blend with my blending stump as well. Now, here along the edge, you do have to be really careful because it's very thin. But everywhere else, you don't have to be as careful. You have a lot of areas that you can cover. Now, zooming out, you can go ahead and see what each one should look like. This is what your final page should look like with all 4 forms shaded in using the value steps. And using the materials that you have, which are your stick, your vine, your pencil, and your blending stump. And that's the end of the charcoal tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something.